Hi friends, welcome back to Sarah's Next Chapter. My name is Sarah and in this video I'm going to be giving you some Sapphic book recommendations. So grab yourself a cup of tea, cup of coffee, whatever you fancy, and let's get into it. Before we get straight on into this video, I thought we would talk a little bit about what the word Sapphic means and where it actually comes from, because I find that stuff fascinating. So I have my emotional support iPad with me. So I am by no means a historian or a specialist in language, but what I have gleaned from the internet is Sapphic is an umbrella term for women or women aligned people who are attracted to other women. So the word is derived from the ancient Greek poet Sappho from the island of Lesbos. Sappho's work focuses on emotions, desire, passion, and relationships, specifically with women. This makes her quite an icon in the queer community. So when bookish people say this book is sapphic, it generally means it has women who love or are attracted to other women. And interestingly, we also get the word lesbian from Sappho's home island of Lesbos. So I just thought that was really, really fascinating and a little history/language lesson for you if you're interested in it. But now I want to get on into the books. So I have a stack of books beside me. I need somewhere to put my coffee down. I do not have enough space in my filming setup right now, or enough, it's just not set up right. So one moment. Oh, I just realised I also wanted to start this video with a little disclaimer that I am not a member of the queer community myself. I am but a simple straight girl. However, I am a firm ally, and I honestly find that through reading queer books and queer literature or books written by queer people, it helps me understand more about the community. And I think books are a really, really, really special and unique way to put yourself in someone else's shoes and sort of live a life through their eyes. So, as much as I am not gay, not attracted to women, these are just some that I've liked and enjoyed. Not saying that they'll particularly go down well with everyone in the queer community. This is just purely from my perspective, and I thought I'd put that disclaimer out there before we get started, just so you know. Anyway, without further ado, the first Sapphic book that I would like to recommend to you is Bittersweet Song by Rosie Hewlett. So this is a Greek mythology retelling/reimagining in which Queen Penelope, who is the wife of Odysseus, falls in love with her slave girl Melantho. So themes in this book are obviously forbidden love, but I think the main theme is actually power and the power struggles that women and men and everyone in this book really faces at one point or another. So why did I like this book? It really does what it says in the tin. You cannot accuse Rosie Hewlett of false advertising, because this book is also sweet, but it is also extremely bitter. And the characters in this book all go through so many struggles. And as I said, one of the main themes is about power. What I found interesting in this book is you have Queen Penelope of Ithaca. So she married Odysseus, then he got drafted in to fight the Trojan War and left her on her own in this little island on Ithaca to raise their son. And yeah, she was lonely. So the only people she really had around her were her group of like handmaids, who are obviously enslaved people that technically work for her. But in this book, they kind of become her friends and her community that she really relies on. So Penelope is a queen and therefore arguably one of the highest status women at this point in time. However, she still feels and recognizes that she is also not free. She is essentially owned by Odysseus. She's basically just waiting for him to return. She's holding his place until he comes back from Troy, or until her son is old enough and wise enough to rule Ithaca on his own. She knows that she won't really be accepted as a lone female ruler. She is more of just a placeholder, and therefore she doesn't really have freedom. She has more freedom than Melantho, who is obviously enslaved, but she still isn't fully free. And so this book begs the question, of what it does mean to be free as a woman in ancient Greece, or in ancient times, I guess, in general. Is there a way that we can truly be free, or is that a non-possibility for women at that time? So obviously there's also themes of love and romance between Penelope and Melantho, and what I really liked about it is Melantho a lot of the time in this book actually really doesn't like, and in fact resents, Penelope for her status and for the things that Penelope does and for the airs and graces that she puts on to sort of please other people in the hierarchy. So there's actually a lot of resentment, and they argue a lot, and it's not this like whirlwind romance where everything's perfect once they find each other and realise they're in love. Far from it. There's a lot of turbulence in the relationship, but that just makes it all the more real, all the more lifelike, and ultimately all the more sweeter, all the more sweet, all the sweeter. You know what I mean? I think it's a good thing for a book to show, like a book that is centered around romance, to show that, you know, we can have conflicting emotions about people we love and still love them deeply. Sometimes we can hate the people we love. Sometimes we can resent them. Sometimes they make us angry, frustrated. They make us not feel good. Sometimes we don't treat them right. You know, we can have all these different things. Jealousy also is another thing, of course. We can have all these different emotions inside us and still love a person. I think that's a really positive thing to put into a book that centres around romance. I like to always offer a room for improvement if there are any. There honestly wasn't much that I didn't like about this book. I have one tiny, tiny little grievance with it, and that is that I do feel there is a massive overuse in italics in this book. Probably a lot of people are going to be like, Sarah, get a grip. Okay, so there's a few italics. It just really annoyed me because I just didn't think it was necessary, and a lot of the time I felt like the reason Rosie Hewlett was using the italics, I understood why. It was because she was wanting to put emphasis on certain words. However, when I'm reading, and maybe this is a personal preference, I like to choose where the emphasis is going myself. So if someone says something, a line of dialogue to another character, I have an interpretation in my mind of how they'll have said it, what they'll have meant, and where the emphasis is going in that sentence. I don't really like that being dictated to me. So yes, it's a very, very, very minor, very, very specific, nitty-gritty little bit of feedback that I would give. But that's it, I've got to be honest. It didn't really detract from the overall enjoyment of this book. I think I gave this like a 4.75 stars. I sobbed at the end of this. The ending was, I loved it. It was gorgeous. And this is the third Rosie Hewlett book that I've read, and I will happily buy whatever she puts out next. So here we go. Next up, we're moving away from Greek mythology, but still staying in the realms of mythology because, you know, it's my video. We have The Gloaming by Kirsty Logan. I wrote a really good little snappy description of this, so let me just get my emotional support iPad and read it for you. So The Gloaming is a folkloric tale of a family struggling to cope with grief, living on a strange island that often takes more than it gives. Getting so good at writing synopsis. It's not even funny. If you want me to write a synopsis for your book, just let me know. So the themes in this book are grief, isolation, and coming of age. Why should you read this book? You need to experience Kirsty Logan's writing. I have honestly never read anything like how Kirsty Logan writes. It is truly unique, it is poetic, and it is always ambiguous. You never fully know what's happening or who to trust in a sense, and that's not always like a sinister thing. It's just, I see I'm struggling to explain it. I feel like you just need to read one of her books. So I read Now She Is Witch, and this is the second Kirsty Logan fiction book that I have read, and I'm eager for more because she just has something special about her writing. The love story in this book is of course Sapphic, and it shows how hard relationships can be. It shows how things can get twisted, and also how what seems really exciting and shiny and fun and new at the start when you're falling in love in that honeymoon phase can fade and sort of disintegrate over time. Hopefully what's left underneath that is something strong. And but I think it's shown how love kind of becomes more of a choice. Once the glitz and glamour has faded and you're left with the reality, the mundanity of everyday, mundanity or mundanity? Mundanity of everyday life, it's maybe not as easy. Your relationship's maybe not as easy. And you're probably going to have, again, arguments, fights, disagreements, moral conflicts. And that's something you have to navigate. And that's really hard. And it's really hard to learn when you're young as well. This is a coming of age story. So our main character, Mara. I doubt I gaslight myself so much with the names. Our main character, Mara, is quite young at the start of this book. So we do see her growing up and navigating this. And that's tough. It's a tough lesson to learn. Your first love is always going to be a bit of a heartbreaker. And I think that this book really shows that. Now, my room for improvement section is kind of a weird one in this book because I'm going to say I want more mermaids. However, there were real life mermaids in this book. You're going to be like, sorry, what? Basically, Mara and her lover become real life mermaids in shows around the world. So this is obviously a real thing. You can go and see mermaid shows. And I kind of like that because actually a lot of it reminded me of, I used to work for a company who provided like Disney characters for parties, and I used to be one of the princesses. So I actually liked the whole behind the scenes of this mermaid show thing because it really reminded me of that life and how on the outside it's so glamorous. I mean, you tell someone you work as a princess and it's like, oh my god, that's the best job ever. And in some ways, yes, but in other ways, no. Like, I've had to get changed in some extremely unglamorous places. Wig caps, not a great look. What you wear under the costumes, cinching yourself into the costumes, the heels, the weight of those dresses and those wigs, the amount of makeup you need to wear. I mean, it's not as glamorous as it might first appear. So I really like that part in this book. I wish there was more of the sort of actual folkloric mermaids element to this book. But I absolutely loved it. And yet again, at the end, I was a mess. I was sobbing. I need to stop picking books that make me cry. But there's one part in this book, and I actually told my husband, and even he looked like he was having a little glassy eyed when I told him this a bit in this book. I won't spoil it, but if you've read it, let me know if you think you know what I'm talking about. Oh my gosh, I couldn't deal with it. I was just like, I'm going to stop before I start crying. Anyway, just read The Glow, it's really good. Coffee break. Okay, my next Sapphic book recommendation, we're going back to Greek mythology because, you know, I can't stay away from it. It is The Palace of Eros by Caro de Robertis. So this is a Greek mythology retelling of the myth of Psyche and Eros. I'm not going to go into the myth because it would take too long. But Eros in this retelling is being portrayed as being able to take on either gender at will or sometimes both at the same time. So this is very much like a sex positive, transgender or gender fluid book. I don't know if that made any sense. Let's just hope it did. So the main themes in this book are sexual expression and gender identity. This book is on the spicier side than what I typically read. I didn't know quite how spicy it would be going into it, but I really, really enjoyed it. And actually, all those scenes were written so well. I really, really loved this book. I think, again, this book, as I was saying at the start of this video, really gave me an insight into what gender fluidity and being transgender might feel like. Obviously, I can't ever know that because it's not my life experience. But I really felt like when I was reading this book, I was having kind of revelations of being like, oh, okay, I can kind of wrap my head around that. Because I think for someone who isn't transgender, isn't queer, has never like struggled with their gender identity or like felt that they have like gender fluidity or any of that kind of stuff, it sometimes can be really hard for me to like even get my brain to go there. Like, I'm fully accepting of all genders and all expressions, and love is love. Like, you do you. It's really none of my business, to be honest. Um, but it's hard sometimes for me to understand it because I've just never experienced it. So this book was like a little window into that experience, and I'd actually really love to hear from people that are trans or gender fluid. I'd really love if you've read this book, if you could let me know if you think it is a good representation. I just love to know if you are a member of the queer community and you've read this book, what you think of it, because I really, really loved it. So those were my 3 Sapphic book recommendations, but I did want to tell you what I'm reading next because it is also Sapphic. I feel like this is like my word of the year for 2026. So up next, I literally just bought this the other day. It is The Witch and the Huntress by Luna McNamara. So this is, hold on to your hats, a Greek mythology retelling or reimagining, and it is about Medea and Atalanta, arguably 2 of the most famous, or in Medea's case maybe infamous, women in Greek mythology, and in this book they are lovers, I think. So this is going to be interesting. I'm like, okay, I'm here for that. Luna McNamara wrote Psyche and, yeah, it is called Psyche and Eros. I feel like I've said Psyche and Eros so many times in this video. Luna McNamara wrote a novel called Psyche and Eros, which I read last year. Absolutely adored it. She also wrote a short story, I think it was called Eden, which I listened. No, did I read it? No, I read it on a Kindle. And I really, really enjoyed. So I think I just really, really like her writing, and I'm excited to get into this. I'm probably going to start it today. So yeah, that was 4 Sapphic books that I would, well, I don't know about The Witch and the Huntress yet, I haven't read it. 3 recommendations, 1 that I will let you know about when I finish reading it. So those were my Sapphic book recommendations. Let me know if you've read any of them, or if you're interested in reading them after hearing me talk about them. Please let me know. As always, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe if you want, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!